And welcome into episode 55 of the Avets and Beyond. My name is Todd Emanuele, and very special guest joining me again. This is what your third appearance on the show, and always happy to have him here. Ryan Boyles is here, and man, I just wish we had something to talk about this week. It's
I know.
like what the heck? We're recording on a Wednesday night. The Avett brothers just happened to lob us a softball, and we woke up to new music this morning, and that was pretty cool.
It really was. Well, thanks for having me back. I
Oh yeah,
thought I was
anytime.
just like a seat filler because she didn't have any news or any good thing to do this week. And you're like, hey, I'll bring on this clown again.
My plan was it was going to be story time
Right.
with Ryan again because you're full of great story. You're a great storyteller. And then this happened this morning. I'm like, are you kidding me? You're really the
Yeah.
perfect person to talk to about all this stuff too. So not only did we get new music, a new song, "Love of a Girl," released to all social media, all streaming platforms this morning, but we got the announcement of the new album, self-titled album, which
Yep.
surprised me. But
Yeah.
the album, The
Kind
Avett
of that's
Brothers.
kind of a different I wouldn't have expected that from the
No.
from the brothers really, but it's got
Yeah,
to be everything's intentional, right?
so they announced, right. Well, May 17th, the album officially drops. Um, Very excited for that. We even got like the track list of the whole album. There's 9 songs on there. That surprised me too. I was expecting more songs, which makes me wonder. And
Hmm.
someone brought this up in one of the groups I saw today. Could we maybe be getting 2 albums this year?
Hmm.
Did you think of
I
that? Did
don't
you
know.
see that?
I
Like
don't know
it,
if I thought that or I saw that, but I thought there would be more songs. Not that I'm look,
oh,
9 songs is great.
it's awesome. Yeah.
But one of the comparisons you can make though is that the big headline for a lot of the articles that ran trying to break the news about the album today or covering it is that it's the first studio album in 5 years, which they're referring back to Closer Than Together from 2019.
Right.
But there's been an album between now and then, but it was the EP, The Third Gleam, right?
Sure.
I want to make a comparison here and say there were 8 tracks on that EP. There's 9 songs on this full album.
Right.
So it's kind of interesting to think about that. Not only that, one of the songs on the new album on the set list, if you track list, sorry, if you look at that, one of the songs is one of those singles that you and I talked about that wasn't ever put on it hasn't been on an album, right?
Right.
Orion's Belt.
Right. And that surprised me with all the other songs that we've talked about, that are singles that have been out there, whatever. That's like one of the last ones I thought would appear on the album, but obviously they wanted to put it on the album, so it's fine,
Oh
and
yeah,
I'm fine
like I
to have
said, everything's intentional. I mean,
it. Yeah.
it's the interesting thing about that song is that I feel like we didn't hear it much or very frequent when they first introduced it as a single, but then it popped up a few times, several times last year in set lists on the road.
Right. And I mentioned that this morning, like, hey, look at that. We actually did get new music at shows last year because they played Orion's Belt several times. No one even
Well,
imagined
right
in a million
to the
years that it
point
would
where
show
there
up on.
were some people saying, "Is that a new song we've never heard?" And we're like, "No,
Yeah,
no, no.
right.
They've that's a song that's a known thing." But yeah,
And here it is on the album. So go figure.
yeah,
But they've talked so much about all these side projects that they've been working on since COVID and other things that they've
yeah.
recorded. That really makes me wonder if there'll be another album later in the year. And that, I mean, that's crazy to think that they may do that, but they could. It's not like they don't have all that stuff, all that material, or,
Certainly.
they've certainly had time to record another album, 10 more songs or whatever.
Well, I think we take it for granted. I mean, to play devil's advocate here, we take it for granted the creative process that goes into recording, getting
Sure.
it right, making sure you're happy with it. I
Yep.
mean, the Rolling Stone article or one of the things that I saw that jumped out at me today was that they said that they had recorded this album in 4 different locations.
Right.
So it's been not only juggling all of the dates that they had on their tour schedule last
Sure.
year and
Sure.
festival dates
Yep.
and special events and Red Rocks and everything else. They did manage to put this together, and it's a feat to do anything of this nature in this day and age
Sure.
with all of that going on, and all of the band members live in different cities from each other now.
Right. And I remember when I had Tanya on the show, that was just about a year ago. It was the beginning of March last year. she said that they had already recorded parts for the new album that she wouldn't really tell me any details about,
Right.
but they were definitely recording and their parts were done already. So they've been working on it a long, long time. And I don't know. It's cool, and they had mentioned recording in Nashville. I know they recorded in North Carolina,
Yeah.
uh, and some in California, but Dolph even told me when he was on my show that a lot of it was just done like virtually over uh, Zoom meetings, I guess. They talked about stuff, but then they did stuff in their own studio and recorded a lot of it, finished a lot of it there. So, but Rick Rubin obviously still involved. He produced the record.
Yeah. So is that a surprise to you? Did you
No.
think
Oh, I don't
that
know.
they were gonna? Do you think like? I wondered if they would continue or how long this collaboration would go on. So that's interesting. I think.
Right. So that was another thing. I asked Dolph if Rick was involved, and he said yes. So I'm like, oh, okay. But I haven't heard of any trips out there to Malibu. And that's when he went into the whole thing about them doing a lot of it, virtually
Yeah.
from their home in North Carolina. So it's
Well,
different.
when you think about it, this is like that's I would draw symmetry there with like how Seth and Scott talked so much about their process when they were young in the documentary May It Last, and they talked about like actually mailing each other,
Yeah,
tapes
yeah,
or leaving recordings on answering machines or things like that to like do the songwriting process and to build on to the lyrics as they collaborate back and forth. And like this is the modern version of that in this day and age, right? You're doing Zoom.
definitely. Now I wouldn't record over Zoom,
Well, of course, right.
but yeah,
Well,
I know how that works.
it just goes to show. I mean, I'm excited about the album. Now it's like you said, there's 9 tracks.
You
Um,
want to? Do you have the track list right in front of you?
I do. I came pretty well prepared here. Let me
Yeah,
see. I've got it.
you prepared way more than I did. I've had such a crazy day today. You like text me an entire agenda. I'm like, oh,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
just gonna. I
So
was just gonna
here's another.
freestyle.
This is what I found interesting about it too. Like
Okay.
the song titles are mostly 2 words, and so
Okay.
they're very simple. So you've got track one, "Never Apart," and there's a note here, footnote, that it has a vocal prelude. Um, Track two is "Love of a Girl." That's the single that came out today that everybody's listening to on repeat.
Yeah.
Track three, "Cheap Coffee," then "Forever Now." Track five, "Country Kid." Track six, "Orion's Belt." Track seven, "2020 Regret." Track eight, "Same Broken Bones." And then track nine, "We Are Loved." So there's a lot you can read into these titles, but they are very simplistic. Like I don't want to say simplistic, but they're 2-word titles, 3-word titles that are you know it's interesting that I love to see like patterns and things, right?
Yeah, and none of it's done by mistake. Like you said, everything's for a reason. Like if you look just at the album cover, and this was fascinating today because people immediately started trying to figure out what the Roman numerals stood for on the album cover.
Yeah.
And people were coming up with all kinds of crazy things like, oh, it's record speeds. I'm like, no, it's not record speeds. There's no 105
Right.
record speed. But who was it? Ed?
Yeah, Ed White, I think, may have been the one that decoded it, and he did it pretty quick.
He
Honestly,
did. Now I wonder if
people
he
were
did
up
that on his
early.
own. Did he do that on his own?
I don't know. We'll have to ask him, but he basically deduced that the numbers of those Roman numerals would decode to the alphabetic letter of each
Right.
letter of if you
Like,
spell out
yeah,
the
it's
Avett brothers.
corresponding
Yeah,
letter, right?
those 3 words. So I think that's a pretty good guess. I don't know if it's deeper than that, but that was a good one by Ed.
There was a couple of things I saw. Let me see if I can find it now. But I mean, that one makes perfect sense because the name of the album is the Avett Brothers,
Yep.
and the picture there is nothing that says that on the album cover, but those Roman numerals are there, and it works out perfectly to fit that. But someone
I
else,
just love that some of the guesses were like an old locker combination,
yeah,
or is this like a new, mathematic theory called the Avenatti sequence, or what? Like not serious answers, but I think folks were having fun with it early this morning.
Now there was one that I liked that I saw first before Ed, blew me away by decoding that, and I think he's right. But Amanda Island put, if you're into numerology and angel numbers, 33 means spiritual enlightenment, twin flame.
Hmm.
68 is new beginnings and fresh opportunities, and 105 is personal freedom, adaptability, and positive changes. Like that is perfect too,
It is.
right? I mean,
Yeah,
that's like
and I
so
think
Avett.
if you compare those as well back to the track list, like I think there's We Are Loved, Love of a Girl, Forever Now, 2020 Regret. I think same Broken Bones. I mean, there's always a lot of storytelling in the Avets lyrics, but
Oh, right.
I can see how some of these numerology or sort
I
of
I really wonder if Ed
things
and
things
Amanda,
could be baked in. Yeah,
I
it
wonder if
makes
they're
sense to me.
both right. I mean, because that they both make sense, and they could have thought of both of those things. I don't know. I don't know if we'll ever
You
know,
know what I think Scott would say is that art is all open to interpretation. It's
right?
whatever you want it to mean.
And that's perfect.
Yep,
That's
it
all.
really.
That's all we need to know, though, right? I mean,
Now,
it's
one thing I was excited to break down with you that I want to pivot to now is the art, the
yeah,
album art, and we got a little sneak peek of it actually, not just today, but several weeks ago,
yeah,
several months ago, when they announced the 2024 summer tour, right?
right.
And they released a lot of art that was fresh
Scott's that
and
was Scott's drawings.
clean. And yeah, the illustrations for the album art, I think, is Scott's art.
Hmm.
But things that I noticed about it again was, we talked about the numerology in the album cover that they're showing today. There's also a pattern sort of impressed in some of the art that they've released for some of the shows that show, where they're performing this summer. And I want you to think about this. If anybody else has seen it, it looks like an imprinted, pattern that's like a signet, or it looks like a circle with like four swords pointing outwards on each corner. And so I was like trying to make some kind of sense of that. And here's what I came up with it. And it actually was like an aha moment I had right before I came on the show
I
when I
like
was
this
talking
too.
to my wife.
This is good. This is
So
good.
if you know the lyrics from High Step and you sing along and dance to that tune, just like my wife and I do every time we hear it, there's lyrics in there that I love that talk about the band themselves, and the lyrics go that you are they we have a uh, let's see, what did I say here? Oh yeah, so the lyrics are, I've got a perfect square for a circle of friends. It's the four of us against the rest of you.
Right.
So the symbol here is a circle, and it's got four swords sort of pointing outward. So I wonder if that is, a direct like tie to that sort of notion of the band being together and sort of being together against the world.
It's us against the world. Yeah, and it's funny. Like the points of the swords are four corners, and it looks like a square in the middle of the circle.
Yeah.
So I think you're spot on with
So
all
again,
that.
we might be reaching here,
Right.
just inventing things, but I think
You'll
all of
never
their art
know.
has purpose behind it. Yeah.
We'll never know, but there's definitely purpose because Scott, they're too deep of thinkers to not put that much thought into every little tiny detail on this album cover. There's no way they just threw that on there.
Yeah.
There's no
I,
way.
I love the illustrations, by the way. So a lot of the art has, there's one piece, I guess, that has Scott and Seth, of course, and Bob together, and they're kind of enclosed in circles that when you look in the middle, you
Hmm.
kind of see it's like an Irish knot almost, I think. And
Yeah,
that I love that imagery. I love Gaelic knots and that sort of design as well. So I think that's interesting.
they're together. I mean, that's
They are.
yeah, they're a family.
Um, and then the album cover itself, where we talked about the numerals, it looks like it's sort of a scene. It looks very much like what Scott would paint. So it looks like a nature scene of,
Yep,
like, deep in the woods of Concord or something, right? You've got
probably in their
trees
backyard
and,
somewhere.
and all kinds of things. It could be the backyard, but it looks like there could be, all kinds of activity going on. It looks like there's a stump on one side and then trees sort of leaning in the other, in the distance. So it's all really, really cool stuff.
So don't you think with the Roman numerals, that's going to be like the next trendy Avett tattoo to get? You're going to start seeing
Maybe.
people with the Roman numerals.
That's a long sequence though. That's going to go all the way around your arm
Yeah, it could
or
just
something.
go right down the middle, like down your
There you go.
forearm.
There you go. You're probably absolutely right about that.
So I saw. I'm
Um,
not taking credit for that. Someone else said that. That's going to be the next Avett tattoo theme or
there are
trend.
so many Avett tattoos out there.
Yeah.
I'm fascinated. Um, One thing I wanted to show you art related, by the way,
Yeah.
is there's another symbol that was showing up on some of the art, and it's basically a design that has sort of two circles sort of merging with each other or overlapping with each other, and the top circle has it's sort of a cross,
Hmm.
and the bottom circle looks like an arrow it could be an A. It's sort of three lines going through it, and when you
That's
merge them together, it has an interesting look. And I think I haven't seen anybody really, get really deep on the meaning of it, but there's got to be one, right? They put it there for a reason.
sure.
I wanted to show you something. Uh, if you know Crystal Brown, she's a Avett fan who lives in Connecticut. She's also an artist in her own right and does a lot of.
Crystal's the best. Look, I have one of her necklaces on
There
right
you
now.
go. Yes, so that's what I was going to say. If you know her, she makes lots of great glass art. She's been experimenting with all kinds of new designs, and she actually,
I remember
when
that
that
day.
art first came out, she made these
And it's
uh,
miraculously in your hands.
glass art. And look at that. Well, she is a good friend, and I mean,
Crystal's awesome.
I
She's
I
amazing.
love orange, I love copper, and like this just showed up in my mailbox one day, so I'm
Really?
forever
Oh
grateful
man,
for her
she
friendship.
she's awesome. She's so
Yeah,
good.
but I want I have no. I think this could mean a lot of things. I look at it, and I'm a United Methodist, so when I look at this, I see the tall cross, that is indicative of their sort of their I want to. It's not called a logo, I'm sure, but like with the flame. But
I
I
think that
think
says cab somehow.
yeah, it could. Yes, I think it could definitely have T's, and you've got the A, and you've got a lot of stuff potentially, or it could just be a doodle, and we're
Right,
all
right.
just
It could
interpreting
be
what we want to
absolutely
see.
nothing. Yep.
Um, but I love all this because I geek out about just artistic expression.
Love it. So there's how many different albums? Seven different albums we can choose from color
Yeah,
wise.
7 different vinyl, I guess, colors, and similar to the last release, it looks like they're going to have, these are going to be kind of like available through different retailers as
Yep.
exclusive kind of colors, right?
How many are you going to purchase yourself? Are you
my,
limited to one this
my
time?
wife and I talked about this. We went a little crazy on the last one, and
Yeah.
uh, we're not sure, but I think I'm just picking one favorite. I saw Dolph comment that he's most
Opaque Bone.
infatuated with the opaque bone, and I have to agree. I think that's kind of interesting.
That's my favorite of the ones I've seen too. Now it's hard to ignore the gold because it's the guild, the
True.
exclusive guild one. The red one is the exclusive one being sold on the Avetts website. But I love that opaque bone. And what is it? Is that Barnes and Noble? That one? Do you
Uh,
have it in front of you?
I
I had
do. Hang on. It
I had
looks
it
like,
and I
yeah, you're right. Barnes and Noble. Clear is going to be the Magnolia Record
oh right.
Club.
And I saw that Vic posted
Uh,
that it was available.
Amazon gets Canary Yellow. There's an opaque light blue that's going to go to the independent retail exclusive
Oh, that's
distribution.
right.
And
There you go.
I love how they say standard black, always a great choice,
Always a great choice.
which I can't argue with that.
That'll probably be the one I end up getting stuck with, but I would love to get opaque bone or any of them. I just want to have it and
Well, for me, I resisted being a vinyl person. I thought, well, it just it was never my thing. But all of a sudden, I got a turntable right around Christmas time, and now I've got the fever for like listening to music that way.
it's so much fun. I just love doing it. And the if you get a good turntable and good speakers, you can't beat it. You can't beat
Yeah,
that.
it's really rich. I mean,
Yep.
you're right. You can't beat it.
I love it. I love it. Now, of course, the song I woke up this morning, turn on my phone, go into Facebook, and I see someone posted new Avett song. I'm like, what? How did they not? I mean, they don't have to, but how did they not even mention it to promote it? The fans promote it for them, so I guess I just answered my own question. They don't need that. But
Well,
what a surprise
yeah. I
this
mean,
morning.
I was just surprised that it was released at like I think the first person posted about it around 7:30 a.m. and they got the jump on me because there were so many more people, so many more to your point. There were so many fans talking about it early in the morning, going oohing and eyeing and talking about it and listening to it and on
It must
repeat.
have come out at midnight. I'm always up past midnight, and last night I went to bed early, so I missed it. Or I would have been the first one posting about it, perhaps, because I'm always up looking at stuff like that. But
So how much do you want to? I wondered if you. I know you've listened to it a few times.
yeah, I listened to it about 15 times probably so far.
I
I haven't
probably have
yet been
only
able to
listened
dive
to it
into the
like two or
lyrics.
three actually, but
Okay.
my
But you have
wife.
you have stuff you
Uh,
wanted to talk about, so go for it.
well, there's. I just wondered if you were curious about the lyrics.
Yeah,
The lyrics are
absolutely.
interesting. I guess take a look because there's sort of three verses and then the chorus, and it's Seth singing um, the main each verse, if you will, and it's interesting. There's a lot going on. It's very lyrically dense, and I
Yeah.
think even just the style of the song, it's very almost like punk
It's
in a
definitely
way,
punk.
right? And it's
Yeah.
and it's you know I've seen some people like make references to like it sounds a little bit like the Ramones or
Yeah.
something like
The
that
first thing
vibe,
I
right?
thought was Green Day. It sounded like Green Day
Yeah,
to me.
yeah, which is exciting. I'm a pop punk nerd. Like I've
Yeah.
got tickets to go see Fallout Boy in Raleigh
Nice.
in a couple of weeks, and
Cool.
then Blink 182 is coming back to tour, and they're going to be here in July. So I'm all about it.
Nice. So go on. Go talk about the lyrics more. I
Well,
haven't seen them written out yet, so I haven't had
I
a chance to
don't
really
know.
dive
I've
into
so
it.
I'll send this to you. I found
Yeah.
somebody sort of do a nice treatment that almost looks like album art, but I think it's just somebody that sort of was typing it up to make it look pretty. I mean, he's talking about his like Seth's talking about Scott in one of the verses. I've got one older brother. He's a fighter and a lover, and every other day he seems to rediscover what the underlying meaning and the dreaming and the scheming is. History colliding with the soul and the showbiz. So I mean, this is Scott's tortured soul, right? But then it
Yeah.
ends back with the main chorus of well, it's all for the love of girl.
Right.
It's interesting. I think it's going to be fun to dissect all this. And then Seth in the first, that's the second verse. In the first verse, I mean, Seth goes deep really quick. I mean, it is like when you read it, it reads really dark. I mean, he's talking about, I've got regret, I've got soul debt, I've got to get one more hit, soul lit, I'm unfit, I still owe my alma mater. And he goes on and on about how, like,
Wow.
he's in a dark bedroom, and it's so I wonder, is he talking about teenage Seth? Is he
Right,
talking
right.
about another episode in his life? Because this is always most of the Avett lyrics, right, are them sort of reading and singing the diary for us. And I think that's what we appreciate about,
Right.
the of the songs.
And we who knows when they actually wrote it too. He could have written it
Sure.
back when he was younger,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
perhaps.
So there's a lot going on in here, but there's familiarity, for us that are like you and I that are kind of super fans. We can draw connections with other things we've heard. I think this reference to Scott really, another it's sort of another way of interpreting how, we saw them work together on, the song trouble, not trouble letting go. They're the song that they had in May It Last that they really put so much heart and soul into. And then Scott, in the movie, he's all about, you know oh my gosh, are we selling our souls here? So it draws allusions right back
Oh,
to that.
no hard feelings you're talking
No
about.
hard feelings,
I was
right?
thinking of the other one that I went blank on too. Now that you you
How
mentioned
do you go blank on that
it,
song, by the way? If
no hard feelings.
I'm embarrassed.
I mean, they never play it ever. So I mean, how?
Never ever. No.
No, but yeah, I can't wait to hear the rest of the album. I wonder what course it's gonna take. Like, is it all gonna be like that first song? Probably not. There'll be some slow songs, but I wonder what direction they'll go in with it, or they went in, should say.
Yeah, yeah. I'm interested too. And there's always it's interesting to see how things get recorded
Yeah,
and experimented on and tuned and polished and whatnot, like you said, in the studio and in all these different places working with Rick. And then sometimes they completely reinterpret a song when they perform it live, and that's what you end up hearing
right,
on the road, right?
right, absolutely. So there was something. Did you talk about the book that's in the album that I
Oh
didn't
yeah,
even hear about that. I
I noticed
that.
this, and this is something my wife Kim picked up on, is that there's going to be a 32-page lyric chat book, is the way it's
What
described.
is a chat book, I wonder?
Yeah, lyric chat, or I don't know if I'm not, I'm just reading the words. I don't know if
Yeah.
it means lyric chat or chat book or whatever, but it's going to feature a 32 pages filled with illustrations by Scott as well. So
That is cool.
I'm excited for that. Like those are the
Yeah.
things I geek out about. I'm the kind of guy that likes the extras and the behind the scenes and the credits and everything about how they make stuff, right?
Same. I'm the same exact way. I love that. I love to hear what songs are about from the artist. Like so many people interpret everything how they want it to be interpreted, but I like to hear from the artist what songs are about. And you never get that. Every once in
Right.
a while you may hear that, but I love to hear the story of how a song was written, and maybe it'll be part of that. I don't know. But you know what they should have done? I wonder if they did. Probably not. This is how my brain works, but wouldn't it be cool that book in the albums if they signed like a random amount of them and every once in a while someone would open it up and here's a signed copy of the book? That
Ha,
would be
that would be
cool.
awesome. That
But
would be
I'm sure
cool.
they didn't do that.
Well, we're putting positive vibes and
Yeah,
the law of
maybe
attraction out there into the world.
maybe they did do that.
They've been known to do you know fun and like a lot of appreciative kind of gifts for fans, all
Like
throughout the
what?
years.
Like what?
Well,
I missed that.
one year, uh, and I don't even remember the reason or the occasion, but I want to say it was in the. I'm gonna get roasted for not knowing exactly, but one year, randomly, a bunch of guild members received, and I think it was only like 50 people received like a box in the mail, and it was a set of wooden engraved coasters,
Really?
and we happened to be one of the lucky few that got one, and I have no idea why. It was just something that showed up,
Wow.
and
But
it was like just a thank you
it was
for being a
something that
fan.
Seth made or
I don't think they were handmade
oh,
necessarily, but the art that was like, it was like, you know, cut into
oh, that's
the
neat.
design. I'll send you a photo of those later. Um, but yeah, something like that is just shows thank you for. I think those little touches are nice.
And that, I don't think they've done that in a while, but um I mean, I get it. The older you get, they don't have time to do stuff like that probably more than anything. But that's cool.
Um, I think there's what was it? Some of the merchandise is has their touch on it.
Sure.
I think you see art sort of woven throughout everything. I appreciate that.
Definitely. We're running out of time here. All right. I knew this was going to happen because
That's all right.
we've only hit one thing on your list of stuff you wanted to talk about. Now I guess we've talked about more than that. But
Yeah, yeah.
you talked about Crystal. What else did you want to talk about? Let's see here.
Well,
The
one of
tour.
the songs I was gonna send you to
Oh yeah.
play in the show was a recording of David Childers performing his song "Do Not Be Scared," and the tie-in to the Avets is that um, they are of course good friends with David and his son Robert, but
Yep.
they have performed this song "Do Not Be Scared" um, on tour and covered it, just like they've often covered "Prettiest Thing."
That was the
Um,
first song I ever heard
yeah.
them play live in a concert was Don't Be Scared.
Well,
That
there
was
you go.
pretty
So
cool.
I have a recording of David and his band, the Serpents, performing it at the unofficial Avett fan New Year's Eve press on fun charity that happened in Raleigh the
Nice.
night before New Year's this past December. So I've got a really good recording of that for you to play for the listeners.
I will do that.
The thing that I wanted to call out though is David has the last few shows I've seen of his. He's talked about how he wanted to learn to play some Avett songs. And he one night he described it as almost like a way to pay them back for all the kindness that they've shown him with covering his songs. And he's so proud that they do that, and he's happy that they do that. So he said he's been working on it a long time, and he's been practicing how to perform "Murder in the City." And he said he's taken years trying to figure out the right way to do it, or maybe he felt self-conscious. I'm not sure, but
Huh.
he's talked about how it's been a while, and now he finally feels like he's ready to reveal it. and he's played it 2 or 3 times now, and I've seen it a couple of times.
I have too. I've
Um,
seen a
I
video.
don't have a good recording of it, but you know how Scott has changed the lyrics over the
Sure.
years
Yeah.
to recognize, his growing family and those changes in his life. And that's one of the areas obviously that David has changed it. And he actually, uh, calls out his wife's name, Linda by name, and then, talks about the love for his family too when it comes to that time in the song.
Yeah, I heard one version that he did. I think it was the first time he played it live. He was at a show and there was a recording on YouTube or somewhere. Maybe it was just on Facebook, but it was great. And the crowd like ooh nod when he got to that part where he called out his wife and it
Yeah,
was like,
yeah.
oh man, he did. He changed the lyrics right at the same spot that Scott always does. And that was special. That was really cool.
It's appropriate too now because I think David's been a performer for a long time, many iterations of his band. He's a prolific and just he's a treasure when it comes to songwriting
Definitely.
here in North Carolina. And his wife Linda, um, I guess she wasn't in the habit of going to a lot of his shows or being on the road with him when he was in the early days, but now she really enjoys coming to the show. So now he's singing the song and it's for her. And the last time we heard it was a couple of weekends ago. He came here to Wake Forest where I live and performed at a little listening room, and she was there, and you could just see it lit up the room.
That's very, very nice. I love David. He's great. One of my favorite people I've ever met. And did you listen to when I talked to Dolph and I mentioned the whole
Yeah.
North Carolina Music Hall of Fame thing to him and he goes, "Oh, well, I guess I should nominate him." Like so
Well,
maybe it's
I
gonna happen.
can't listen. I think that would be very fitting. He again, his songwriting, his sincerity, his craftsmanship. I mean, and he performs, solo. Sometimes he performs as an acoustic duo, which I actually saw him do that last Friday night in Winston Salem with his longtime collaborator David Nyblock, who is a if you have a chance to see him with just him on guitar, wow, it adds something different to the songs. It's amazing. And then the full band, it's just it's a different treat every time you see him.
Yeah, he's the best. All right, and we have less than 6 minutes left here, and I know you wanted to talk about someone new that
Well, yeah.
I don't know if
So
you discovered them or what, but
no. I discovered them for myself.
for yourself.
They're not a new band. I guess they're newish. They're not that big, but there's a band from Saxapaha. I learned the right way to say this town, by the way.
Where is that?
Um, it's in North Carolina here. It's near it's sort of outside of Chapel Hill, Carborough area.
How do you say it again?
Saxapaha.
Saxapaha?
Saxapaha. And that's apparently the right way to say it because it's an old name um, from the time of Native Americans being in that area. But it's known for a venue called the Hall River Ballroom,
Okay.
um, and it's a fantastic venue. It's really great. They have a great community around it where they do lots of events. But when they have musical artists, it's a treat. Um, I discovered this band called the Tan and Sober Gentlemen, and from the name, you're like, okay, what am I in for, right? I'm gonna tell you, it is what can be described as like, well, the name of their second album is called Regressive Folk,
Okay.
and they perform like it's almost like bluegrass punk with a Irish Gaelic edge to it because they
Interesting. I
they
like that.
play in very much it sounds like jig kind of. A lot of songs are very much like Irish jig, like on crack, like it's like speed metal combined with Irish music, and they're hard driving. And I'm looking at the poster behind me, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7, there's 7 members on the stage. um, and so I
Sounds fun.
started to draw some similarities of like
Yeah.
what would it have been like to see the Avets when they were first playing, small venues and just like banging their head as Nemo or what have you. Like it makes you wonder, are you seeing a band emerging like that in their
Oh, right.
formative age, right?
Not just the Nemo thing either, but like when the Avets were young guys, they were screaming and the
Oh
shows
yeah,
were
yeah.
totally different.
I
Like,
have so many live recordings of the Avets that my wife's like, I can't take it. It's too much. But I love it. So I love Irish music. I have that heritage, and I'm somehow Scotch Irish, I think. But I have an appreciation for the music, and they speed up and slow down and take you on a journey. And this band is either, it's either they have a guy who is a lead singer on some songs, and then they have a woman with a beautiful voice that's leading on others, and then there's an accordion, there's a stand-up bass, there's a fiddle, of course, there's
Sounds awfully
uh,
familiar.
electric banjo, which doesn't look like a banjo. It like looks like a guitar, but the backside of it, and there's a metal head. It's
Yeah,
I don't.
interesting.
It's a wild experience. So if you want to go and experience it, you can find them on YouTube.
Tan and
Um,
sober gentleman. So are you going to send
Tannin
me a couple
Sober
songs that
Gentleman.
I can
I
play on
will
the
send you
episode
a
here?
couple of recommendations there, and you
Yeah,
can you can hear them on Spotify. They've put out a couple of albums, and when I heard them at Hall River Ballroom, they recorded that night. It was going to be a live album that they release soon. So I think everybody should check it out.
yeah. So I'll throw a couple songs on the episode here. Why not? We'll lead
One
off the
other
show.
analogy I'll draw between them and the Avetts
Yeah,
is
yeah.
one of my favorite Avett songs is "Down with the Shine."
Okay.
They have a song called "Corn Liquor," and
Interesting.
they talk about why do I feel the way I do, why do I love you like I do, and then the chorus is like screaming corn liquor, and they are asking the audience, like, you know calls it back to them. So it's a fun time.
There's some parallels there though.
Yeah,
That's really sounds like it.
yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, we'll check that out. A couple of songs in there. So we'll lead it off with "Love of a Girl." That obviously how the show's going to start this week. How could I do anything different than that? And we'll get into some other tunes. I know you're picking some other music for the episode too that you're going to send me after, right?
Sure deal, I will.
All right. So we got like a minute left. Anything else we want to talk about before I let you go?
Man, I don't know, we sort of packed a lot in tonight. um
Fastest 40 minutes in radio history, right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I got to ask. So, have you planned any? I don't know if we've talked about the tour. I mean, we talked a little bit about it, I think, earlier. But any tour dates for you planned? I think you said Albany, right?
I'm hoping to get to Albany. That's pretty much it. I've got my son's graduating high school and going to a rather expensive college, so we're not looking to go many places
I hear you.
this
I
summer.
hear
So
you. Well, if you do make it to Albany, that's one that's on my
good.
on
Oh,
my dance card
well,
as
that
well.
gives
So I
me more
hope to
incentive to
see
get
you.
there then,
Yeah,
because I would love to run
yeah.
into you in person. Well,
Awesome.
Ryan Boyles, thank you so much for coming on again. 3 times you've been on. We got to get a fourth for you so you
I
can
feel
tie.
like I'm gonna have to get a velvet jacket if I'm a five
Yeah.
Peter, like a five Pete with like the SNL hosts.
Yeah, well, we've only had 4 so far. 4 for Dan Zlotnick and 4 for Cody Gentry. So you're at 3. You're
Okay.
right there. Well,
All right.
maybe I'll come up with a velvet jacket or something.
Something to chase. Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Ryan, man. We'll talk to you soon,
Thank you
okay?
so much.
All right, take care.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye.